Hey, there we go. All right, cool. All right. Hey, everybody. Hey, Facebook. Hey, Periscope. Hey, YouTube. You're going to, if you're coming in, come in and close the door. Come here. Let me see, because you're, bring your face. This came loose. How did that happen? I'm just giving it a couple minutes, y'all, because I'll be on here. Hopefully not forever, not a long time. I say that all the time. You gonna come say hello?
Not now.
Not now?
Mm-mm.
Okay. You all right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What you thinking about?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. Hey, y'all. Okay. So for Periscope and YouTube folks, I will try to look back and forth between screens so that it won't seem like I'm looking one way and not looking the other way. Hey, y'all. I can't see today. I did not put my contacts in, which was a mistake. But we are going to work with glasses today. Okay. Okay. Look at God. Oh, I love it. I can see. All right. So today is edition 3 of Dreams. As I told you guys before, I have been commissioned to begin talking about dreams, about the ministry of dreams, dreams being a stream of the prophetic. The Lord has really laid it on my heart to really start opening up dialogue about this and also giving information and reference to this. Hugely because dreaming has been a huge part of my life. I say this in every live that I do, and probably will continue to say this. Dreams is just not talked about nearly enough. It's not talked about as if it's an adequate ministry, as if it's actually a form of prophecy or a stream of prophecy. I have a lot of biblical references to prove otherwise, and I will be talking about that on another video, but I've actually come up with kind of a dream series that we'll go through. It's going to be every Saturday, usually around this time, around this hour. It's a central time here. It's about 6 p.m. central time here. I'm really going to try to do 5 p.m. central, but you know, life happens. I'm a whole mom. I have a whole child. She's somewhere in the background over here. Don't know what's wrong with her, but I'm sure she'll come over in a second when she feels like nobody's paying her attention. So yeah. Anyway, I'm a whole mom. I have several businesses right now that, by the grace of God, have not slowed down with this whole COVID-19 thing. Thank you, Lord. So it can be kind of difficult to dedicate, or I shouldn't even say dedicate, but it can be difficult to commit to a specific time, especially on a Saturday. But it will be on Saturdays for sure. So 5 o'clock is normally going to be the time frame. You want to start probably checking your Facebook to see if I've started posting around 5 p.m. And afterwards. So anyway, just to jump right on in, last week we talked about dreams and identity and how important it was to first know your identity in the Lord. Hey, Darnell. How important it was to first know who you were in the Lord, to know your reason for existence, your reason for even being created, before we even dove. Is a dove a word, child? I don't know. Before we even started diving in to dreams at all, because as I've talked about before, there is a ton of things like on in the secular side of things. There's a ton of information about dreams and visions, and your finding your about being empaths and all these other things that are rooted in demonic activity. It's rooted in the occult, but there's just not a whole lot when it comes to believers, people of God, when it comes to dreaming and when it comes to interpreting dreams and when it comes to recognizing the difference between God dreams, the difference between demonic dreams, the difference between soulish dreams. Because there is a real difference, and we do need to know this. And so, especially for such a time as this, like we are in the middle of a pandemic called COVID-19. And as I've been saying for quite some time, and even before this happened, this is just the beginning of what's to come. There are going to be several waves of different things coming that are going to be much bigger and much more impactful than this. And it is, I believe this is also why the Lord has commissioned me to start really talking about this, because we are hugely unprepared as a body. And it is also, I would say, part of the reason the Lord has taken us out of the institutions of our church and the way we do church. And a lot of people started coming out of the churches even before this hit, as instructed by the Lord, myself included, because of, I believe, what's happening now and what's to come, and also to maybe get a focus on maybe even this platform. Like, I'm able to talk to you guys now. There's more people paying attention now than before, because I mean, folks ain't got nothing else to do but get online. You know what I'm saying? So I think now people are more open and more prone to have an ear to hear. And I believe that was the intent of all of this. Even though what's happening is wicked and it's diabolical in nature, it was absolutely planned. This is not a natural occurrence. This is absolutely a man-made pestilence, a man-made biological weapon, and there is more to come. The Lord will still get the glory in it regardless. So he wants to warn his people. He wants to prepare his people. He doesn't want us to be wallowing around lost and confused. He doesn't want us to be shocked and surprised about the plans of the enemy. This shouldn't, I say this every time as well, this should have never been a surprise to the believers. Hey, Langston, thanks, it's off topic, but when bar sub, you, you stupid. You're okay. So I'll segue, but I'm gonna tell you, because you're not gonna believe me, but I first started using black soap. Sorry guys, just a segue. Black soap. But my skin was super sensitive to it. That's why I was telling you, like, just make sure your skin can handle, like, even some of the natural stuff may be too harsh on your skin if you have sensitive skin. But I started using the black soap, couldn't use it, and I tried other things that didn't do well. Believe it or not, I was using Dial soap just to wash my face, nothing special, and it cleared my skin up like easy. I since switched to using Castile soap. I use Dr. Bronner's Castile soap to wash my body and my face, and it's been really, really good. So try Castile soap. I wouldn't recommend Dial soap because it still has perfumes and stuff in it, I think, but it's not healthy, organic, or whatever. Use Castile soap and see if that works for you. But back to the dreams, as I was saying, like, I believe that the reason that this is happening is to get our focal point where it needs to be, which is first and foremost on relationship in Christ, in the Lord, to dismantle a lot of these idols that have been erected in and out of the church, quite a few in the church. And this is, if you guys haven't been paying attention, you see a lot of things being highlighted. You have a lot of people that are waking up to a lot of things that we have adopted that have absolutely nothing at all to do with the Lord, nothing to do with his intent, nothing to do with the worship of Christ. It has nothing to do with what his original thoughts were in reference to the church. And that's why we're where we are today. And it would be very foolish of you to not take heed to where we are. It would be very, and I'm talking about very foolish for you to expect us to be going back to how things were. It would be very foolish of you to believe that things are going to be able to continue as usual, because that's just not the case. I'm telling you right now, as a prophet of God, that is not going to happen. You need to get used to even this new normal. And even beyond that, you need to expect your normal to continue to shift and continue to change, because it's not going to stay one way for long. There are going to be these, I heard it said like a roller coaster. And I think that's an accurate depiction of how this is going to be. There's going to be instances where we're in like these Selah moments where we're just chilling. And then there's something else that's going to hit. And we need to be ready and prepared. With all of that being said, I believe the Lord has commissioned me to do this dreaming series to kind of lead up to some other things I've alluded to. I've been doing research for years on quite a lot of things. There's documented things that will back up a lot of what I'm going to be talking to you guys about here very soon. But first, I think the Lord wanted me to talk about dreams first, because dreaming has been such a huge part of the way he communicates with me outside of other things, but dreaming has been huge. And I think that will lead up to why I know so much of what I know, and why I have so much just information to give, and so many things to talk about, and so much wisdom to give on certain things because of the dreams, and because of a lot of what he's shown me in my dreams. So today I had actually planned on, like I said, I have a whole series planned out here. I had actually planned on continuing dreams and identity, because first of all, I didn't feel like I didn't go as in depth into identity last week as I would want to. And identity is so huge. Like identity is so big in any ministry, not just in reference to dreams, but in anything you do. I mean, even if you don't, or even if you aren't in any specific ministry, identity is so big. It's so huge. You must know who you are, guys. You must know who you are just in life if you call yourself a follower of Jesus, a follower of Christ. And as we see, there are a huge number of us have no clue. We're still figuring it out, which, mind you, you're always going to be discovering new things and new facets of Christ and new facets of yourself in him. But there are so many that just at the very basic level, at the very foundational level, we have no idea who we are, who we were called and assigned to be, what our purpose on the earth is, how we're supposed to be impacting change. We have no clue about it. And I was going to talk about that today. I was going to go more into depth. I was going to give you guys some scriptures so you can look yourself to see what God says to you, because what better way to find out who you are or get an idea of who you are than to go to the word and see what God said about you, or see what his thoughts are about you. That's what gives you your kind of a viewpoint, or something to grab onto to start with, to say, okay, you know what? The Lord said that I was created in his image. My God. So if I'm created in his image, that means I look like him. How is that possible? Or the Lord says I was fearfully and wonderfully made. How is that possible? What does that mean? What does it mean to be fearfully and wonderfully made? That means that my being is wonderful. That means, yes, I'm flawed. Yes, I have a sin nature, but the foundations of who I am, how I was created, his thought process about me came from a fantastic place. Let's get back to that. How do we get back to that? How do I understand what that means? The Bible says, before I was formed in my mother's womb, he knew me. What does that mean? What is that? That sounds very intimate. What does that mean? Just different things like that. So I was going to talk about that today. However, in light of everything that's happened this past week, hey Zim, I feel it would be really tone deaf for me to just talk about dreams and not talk about a dream that was deferred back in February, and that's Ahmaud Arbery's dream. That's I'm talking about Ahmaud Arbery, and this is, if nothing else, has put like a fire under me to start talking about what I've been assigned to talk about. This was a reminder to me that, you just never know when it's the end, and you never know when it's time for you to leave this earth. And so every moment that you're here, we have got to be intentional. We have got to be moving forward in what he's told us to do. we have got to wake up every day asking the Lord, what is it that you would have me to do in this day? What is it that you would have me to do to impact change? As many of you have seen and many of you know, Ahmaud Arbery was an African-American 25-year-old young man. He was in Brunswick, Georgia, jogging through a neighborhood. I'm not clear on if he actually lived in the area or not. But he was jogging in the area, and some 3 Caucasian men with weapons. All of them had guns. I think one of them was a shotgun. Well, I know one of them was either was a rifle, was a shotgun. 2 of them were a father-son duo. McMichaels was their last name. The other one, I don't remember his name, but he was actually a part of their plan to, I guess, accost this young man. And they blocked him off as he was jogging down one of the streets in the neighborhood. A brief altercation happened. I don't believe there were any words spoken, because it literally, from the moment he actually realized that they were there, and from the first actual physical touch to the gunshot went off, there were literally seconds. Hey, Amber. Hey, Eb. There were literally seconds that passed. So there wasn't much in line of speaking or interaction or anything like that. It just happened really quickly. And the defense that came forth from these men were that A, it was self-defense, B, that there were burglaries that had happened in their neighborhood, and so they were being vigilantes. They were enacting the Georgia law, which talks about how to stand your ground and that they can make a citizen's arrest. They also were saying that they had witnessed him looking into a home, and he fit the description of I guess another individual who had been seen burglarizing the neighborhood. This happened back in February. These men were never arrested. These men were never truly investigated. It was found after, I think, not less than a month, I think maybe a few days, it was found that they were not guilty by the DA and by the enforcement in the area. And it would have gone under the radar, save this video that has come to light recently. I have my thoughts on even why the video came to light. I will get into that. And that kind of leads into some of the other things that I will be talking about as well. But the video revealed a different story. The video revealed that, in fact, their confrontation of him was anything but innocent. It also revealed that these men hunted this young man as if he was game. This video also revealed that they had no regard for his life. As a matter of fact, after the triggers, because there was more than one gunshot. One gun went off at one point, and then another gun went off. I'm not sure if he was hit by both guns or if one went off at one point and he was hit by the other. I don't know about all that. But after he hit the ground, after he had been shot, these men, they walked away as if they had shot some game that they had been hunting, as if they had hit their target. There was no, if you look at the video, their body language did not in any way reflect any emotional, nothing indicating that they had just shot a human being. Hey, Mom. There was no indicator that they had any kind of urgency to even seek help for this young man whatsoever. And it just even in watching the video, which at first I wished I hadn't watched the video, but after watching it, I'm glad I did, because it just reiterates the fact that we are still in a space, and it's not just in this country, it's in other countries as well, but we are still in a time frame where discrimination exists, racism exists, microaggression exists, prejudices exist, unfair treatment of people of color. I'll say Black and brown. I'll say people of color, but I'm also going to emphasize Black people. The mistreatment happens even in the judicial system. It is not a fair It's not fair in the even in the unfair incarceration of African American people. Our sentencing for certain crimes that our white counterparts don't receive. It's evident and it's documented. The stats prove it. If you just do a little bit of looking around, you don't even have to dig real deep. It's there. Hey, Elle, you can see it. It's evident. It happens every single day. It's not something that's in the past. This happens still to this day. And this story kind of highlighted the fact that, yes, all lives matter, but all lives do not matter in the grand scheme of things. Just the fact that there was no real investigation done, even in this case, screams that Black lives don't matter as a whole. And so what we discovered also was that even in the neighborhood, there had not been any reportings of burglaries supposedly that happened. So that killed that claim, that defense. We found that this young man actually, yes, he did. They said that they witnessed him looking into a home. That home actually was a home under construction. How many of us have done that exact same thing? I can tell you several times I've looked into homes or buildings that were being constructed, just being nosy. I don't know if that's legal, but I've done it 1,000 times. I can say that in the state of Georgia, they do have that law about they can make a citizen's arrest if a crime is being committed, if they witness a crime being committed. At the time of their arrest, there was no crime that had been committed. We also have found that one of the men that were involved, hey, Daryl, one of the men that were involved is a 30-year lawman, meaning he had some dealings in law enforcement over the past 30 years, meaning there was at one point he was a police officer. There was at one point he worked in the DA's office in Brunswick, Georgia. He basically had very close dealings and relations with people in law enforcement. So there was absolutely that good old boy system that was in play. His son also, so there was nepotism that happened there as well. The man that was recording, he was with them. So there were 3 involved. So this third man also needs to be arrested. He needs to be convicted, sentenced, and imprisoned as well, because he was a part of it. They actually blocked this man from the front and they blocked him in the back so he couldn't escape. They cornered him like an animal and they killed him. They murdered him, period, point blank. So I wanted to do this video and specifically dedicate it to Ahmaud, to talk about the fact that we have got to do what we are called to do. I know Ahmaud did not wake up that morning and know that was going to be his last moment. That was going to be his last day on earth. Hey, Katonia, he had no clue. As a matter of fact, if you watch the video, this was pointed out, if you watch the video, he's jogging, literally minding his business. And you see the moment where he notices that the truck had stopped in front of him. One of the men had already gotten out with his rifle in his hand, just standing there. And you can see that Ahmaud at first didn't even notice that this had happened. So he runs around the truck trying to avoid it. I mean, who wouldn't do that? Like, who wouldn't try to avoid? Like, I'm jogging, not paying any attention in my own world. And then I look up and I see this man or woman, whoever, with a truck literally blocking me off, and they're holding a gun right in my direct path. I'm going to veer suddenly the other way and try to go around. And so I guess maybe what it looks like from what we could see from the video is like one of the Caucasian men, they started interacting with each other, and Ahmaud fought for his life. Like, he fought to live. And you hear the gun go off immediately. As a matter of fact, the other Caucasian individual, this is just the father and the son now. He was literally standing in the bed of the truck as they were following him. So it's like point and shoot, like point game. Like they hunted him. He was hunted. Let that just sit with you. He a physical being, a human being. He was hunted. And here's the thing. We are in 2020 right now, right? Just think about years ago. where we were hunted regularly, and there was nothing that we could say. We didn't have a voice then. There was no way we could have had a real voice. Then can you just imagine just the mind frame of people back in that day? Just this system of just instilling fear and control and just killing people because we were considered 3/4 of a human being. You know, that mindset still exists today. I am sorry. I'm sorry to break it to a lot of my white counterparts who get very offended when we start talking about racism and race relations in reference to Black people, and the fact that it does still exist today. That mentality, that mindset, even though there are more rules in place that don't allow folks to just go around killing each other anymore because we hate the color of your skin. But that mentality didn't die just because Jim Crow laws were done away with, or because slavery was supposedly I can't think. I'm sorry, abolished. Thank you. That mentality didn't go around. Hey JY, hey Jennifer. And so because of that, we still have this system. Like if you even go and look into the laws right now, if you go into the court systems right now and you look into certain laws that are in place, if you go into zoning laws that are in place, if you go into the education and how things have been put into order, it is very clear, very, very clear that it is racially discriminatory. It is not by happenstance. It is not just people who talk about this stuff are not just making things up. We're not just talking because we want to be victimized. Don't you think we're tired of being victimized? We were victimized for 400 years. We're tired of being victimized. So nobody wants to just continue to be a victim. No, we're trying to be treated like human beings. That's all we want. And so with that being said, with Ahmaud, this happened in February. We just found out about it now. And my honest thought, I know that there's a reason that they revealed this, that this has come up even now. I do believe that it is also to kind of distract from the underlying things that are actually happening globally. I do believe that, but I do believe that this actually happened. And I do believe that this actually needs to be talked about. And I do believe that there are some definite conversations that need to be had, especially amongst my white counterparts. Even like Jennifer and Josh are watching now. I love them. I know that they would stand with us. I can't say I have a lot of white friends who would be there with us standing for what's right, but I have a few. So I know it's not everybody. But I definitely wanted to have this conversation because I've seen so many comments from people that claim to love people of all races, demographics, background, ages, creeds, all of that. I've seen comments amongst leaders about what's happening. And then I've seen a very huge muting of leadership, people in leadership that have diverse followings, people in leadership who have Black friends and Black peers and Black coworkers, Black staff. I've seen a very notable silence when it comes to this topic. And I know for some, they may be afraid to talk about it because they don't want to say the wrong things. I know there are some who maybe don't agree with the Black Lives Matter movement because it feels racist to them, or it feels like it's offensive to them because it seems as if we're saying that no other lives but Black Lives Matter, which is not the case. That is not what the Black Lives first. Well, let's be clear. The Black Lives Matter movement is not what we think it is. However, just in general, if we're just talking about Black Lives Matter in general, we're not saying in any way that no other lives matter but Black lives. But what we're saying is historically, Black lives have not mattered. And we're trying to bring attention to the fact that that Black lives do matter. And then for others, it's just they're afraid. Like they're afraid of losing funding. Maybe they're afraid of losing their following. Maybe they're afraid of the backlash. Maybe they're non-confrontational. You know, I understand that, but I definitely must say that it's really disheartening. It's really disappointing. Ebony said definitely a distraction, but still relevant and deserving of attention. Yes, girl, we absolutely will. Jennifer, yes. Hey, Corey. Hey, Ebony. Mom says, honestly, I'm afraid to watch it. I can imagine the feelings that are going to surface as a result. Yeah, it's hard to watch. Like I wept, like I cried, like and I normally don't watch anything with that has like violence in it or things that people share because it weighs very heavily. If you have any kind of heart, it's going to stay with you for a while. And I just kept seeing it and feeling like you need to watch it. You need to watch it. And so finally I watched it. And I actually watched it several times just to make sure I was seeing correctly. And it's heartbreaking. It makes you feel so disgusting even watching it, because just to see the people that shot him, just to see the complete disregard for his life, that's the part that really hit me. Like, yes, they just murdered an individual. Yes, Ahmaud lost his life, but what added insult to injury was just the lack of care for the fact that you just shot somebody, which A, told me that this probably wasn't their first time, or B, again, they never really considered him human to begin with. There was literally no indication in that clip whatsoever that there was a concern that they took a life. So, yeah, Amber. Yep, I wept the rest of that night, like, and it stayed with me. I just stared at the ceiling, like, just thinking, like, my God. I just can't, and I'm going to say this is going to sound crazy, but I'm thankful that it was quick and that he probably really didn't have a lot of time to really take in what was happening. I'm grateful that it was fast and that he didn't really. I don't really believe that the fear really hit him that quick, because he was fighting, like his fight or flight response kicked in immediately, which which was amazing, especially for people with guns. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was amazing that he did that. So yeah, that just speaks a lot to the type of person that he was. So I'm grateful for that, but still, it is horrible. Hey, Chris. So I just really have a hard time with whenever we're talking about this particular subject. It's like there are so many causes out there, okay? And listen, in no way is the Black community saying, you know, you guys need to take up every cause that we ever come up with, and everything that affects us. You need to be in the street with us. You need to be hanging, like, putting your banners up and be like, yeah, go. We're not asking for that. But what we are asking for is consideration. We are asking for consideration that maybe what we've been talking about for years, maybe just maybe there's something to this. Amber. Katonia, Rodney said it made him nauseous. Yes. And I mean, you have a Black son. I can't imagine how he feels. I can't imagine how any Black male, like Black period, like we go through this. I'm trying to tell you, like I've experienced quite a bit myself as a Black woman, or just a Black individual, but I just can't imagine what Black men go through walking out their doors every day. Like, I just can't imagine the trauma that in their mind, the PTSD, just knowing that your very being invokes fear in people, like fear and hatred. Like there's trauma there to that. That's craziness. So I just have a really hard time when there are these constant. I'm going to say this. There is a lot of leadership out there, again, and that was part of why I wanted to talk about this today. There's a lot of leadership, believers, Christians out there who have said nothing about this. And even like the other tragedies that happened with other Black individuals that were just living while Black, murdered, killed for living while being Black, followed the rules, did what they were told, walking on the phone, playing a game, in the house sleeping. There was a young lady in, I want to say she was in Dallas or like somewhere in the Dallas area. Literally, they walked into her house while she's sleeping. The police, mind you, walked into her house. She's sleeping. They murdered her because a neighbor, I guess, had called and said that somebody was trespassing. This woman's in her own home. And so it's not fair for people to come and have these different arguments about, well, all lives matter, not just Black lives, all lives matter. It's not a fair sentiment. It doesn't compute when we break laws, when they say, well, talk about Black on Black crime. Let's talk about Black on Black crime. It doesn't compute because we get punished for Black on Black crime. We don't get away with Black on Black crime. Okay. It doesn't compute when they say, well, they should have just followed the rules, or they should have just done what they were told. I'm sorry, but there's a constitution in place for a reason. Supposedly this constitution, which is supposed to be fair for everyone, gives me the right to do certain things. But I guess that only applies if I'm not brown or if I don't have any tint to my skin color. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute. And so it's especially disturbing and disheartening and also telling, again, when we're talking about leadership, they have diverse congregations, they have diverse staff. Some of them may be partnered with people of color or have biracial children. It's very strange to me that people go radio silent when it comes to race issues amongst the Black community. We'll talk about how immigrants are being mistreated. We can talk about the mistreatment of animals. We can talk about different causes that, I mean, they matter. Absolutely, they matter. I'm not diminishing them. But when it comes to us, we get blamed for what happened to us every single time. We get blamed for being victimized. And nobody is talking about this. People are not addressing this on a mass scale. People with platforms are silent about this. And I'm talking about people like Caucasian folks, white folks. And I'm not just talking to white people. I'm talking to the Hispanic community as well. Y'all go through discrimination as well. But when it comes to the Black community, we're silent or we're blamed. I saw a meme the other day. Black people are the only folks on the planet that get blamed for getting murdered. When I tell you that is a true statement, that is a true statement. I have seen so many posts and the comments in these posts that really would really make you angry if you didn't have the Spirit of God in you. It would really make you really take on offenses in your heart if you did not have the Lord, because it's mind-boggling just the mindsets of people in reference to the Black individual. And mind you, I am a true believer in the Lord. I know that this is a spiritual issue. I know that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but principalities in high places, spiritual wickedness in high places. I know this. So I know that the reason that people are even able to have these stances is because it's a spiritual condition. It's a spirit that we're dealing with here to cause division. I'm fully aware of it, but we've got to start talking, and we've got to start addressing it, and we've got to start setting folks free from even that, because we will forever be divided if we can't come to a common ground when it comes to this particular topic. I can't go with you talking about setting captives free and talking about unity if I can't talk to you about the fact that my people, my brothers and sisters who look like me are still being bound, and you don't care about it. It doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. I can't continue to have these conferences and see the same Caucasian individuals I'm not coming against white people, y'all. Please hear my heart. I'm just telling you what's really happening, what we're really seeing, what y'all know to be true, but nobody wants to talk about it. But I can't continue to say that, yeah, we're hand in hand, we're linked up, we're together, but this is what is allowed to happen, and nobody has anything to say about it. So Black people, what we're trying to say is we can definitely speak up for ourselves. Like we as you can see, we're pretty loud with a lot of things. We will speak up, but we want to see you also stand with us. We want to hear your thoughts about the injustices that are happening against Black people specifically, not just about every other cause, but I'm talking about against Black people specifically. And if you don't know what to say, if you're confused, if you're scared to say something, if you're just afraid that you may say the wrong thing and be offensive, I encourage you, just start asking questions. Start asking, how can I help? What can I do? Is this offensive? Is it offensive for me to say this? I really have a heart to want to understand, but I don't know where to start. Where can I start? Start asking questions. That's the best thing you can do. I've seen a lot of people who are mad because there are a lot of Black folks saying that that the white community is very silent right now. And some of them are frustrated saying that, well, if I say something, then I'm wrong. If I don't say something, then I'm wrong. And so I'm just encouraging you, start asking questions. That's the best thing you can do, especially if you're talking about a victim. For instance, if somebody is abused, the worst thing you can do is go in and try to tell them how to feel. The worst thing you can do is tell them what you want them to do in reference to their healing. The best thing you can do is go in asking questions, asking them, well, how do you feel about this? Getting an understanding of where it comes from. What can I do to help you? What can I do to stand with you? What can I do that will not be tone deaf? What can I do that will be effective? That's the best thing you can do right now if you just don't know what to do. If you are somebody who is willing to do some research, then I encourage you, do some research, look into court documents, look into the law. And I'm talking about read the fine print, honey. That's still very clear and very relevant today, that is discriminatory against people of color right now today. So I really wanted to hone in on Ahmaud. I know I kind of went on a few trails here because I kind of got a little passionate about it. We want to unify. We want to come together. At least many of us do. I know there are some who are very militant about not unifying with anybody else. And I don't believe that as well. That's not kingdom. That is not the Lord's heart either. But we can no longer continue to have this facade of unification and coming together if we cannot address this very big issue. This is a huge elephant in the room, and we have got to start talking about it, and we've got to start addressing it, and we've got to start fixing it. We've got to start fixing it. And if you don't know where to start asking questions. Ask people, what can I do to help you? What can I do to recognize or to see what you're talking about when you're talking about white privilege? Like, don't just immediately dismiss it. Like, ask questions. Look from someone else's point of view outside of your own. Just because that hasn't been your experience doesn't mean that it has not been someone else's experience. We've got to grow up. We've got to mature. We've got to become more emotionally intelligent, especially to my believers. If you call yourself a person of God, it is imperative that you recognize that this exists, and it must come down to, it's another spirit that has to be dismantled as well. We can't just dismantle everything else except for racism. That doesn't make sense. Like, why are we ignoring that? Why is that being hugely ignored? Probably because many have been convinced that it doesn't even exist. I'm telling you right now, as a Black woman who never looks for a handout from anything, as a Black woman who has always thought for herself, as a Black woman who has never just wanted a woe is me, feel sorry for me type of environment or anything like that, who has always been able to kind of move forward even in really hard, difficult times. I'm telling you right now, this stuff happens. And by the grace of God, I have not had the horrible experiences that many others have had. But I know that this stuff still happens to them. So it would be so ignorant of me to be like, well, there's no way this exists because that never happened to me. How stupid is that? I'm sorry, that's stupid. That's not even ignorant. That's stupid. That's stupid, and it diminishes everyone else's experience who has been victimized. It diminishes their worth and their feelings. And again, as believers, it's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. So Ebony said, how do you feel about practicing our right to bear arms? Hey, Abby. Hey, Dominique. Hey, y'all. So I don't know, Eb. I'm like up in the air about that because, and I'm going to tell you why. I believe that the vast majority, unfortunately, the vast majority of people, not just Black folks, but just people, are not emotionally intelligent. we are not emotionally well. We're not spiritually well. And so because of that, I think it's extremely dangerous to allow people to just be carrying guns around, because we are just too emotional, but not healthy. You know, there's nothing wrong with emotion. There's nothing wrong with being passionate about things. There's nothing wrong with even getting angry about injustice and getting angry about things that happen. But we don't just stop and really think constructively. We don't, we haven't been healed of quite a lot of things. Well, I will go back to, especially with Black folks, we haven't been healed from a lot of things yet. We're still dealing with things from the past. And so a lot of people carrying weapons that can easily kill would be just grounds for a lot of people being harmed, because we would just be retaliating. We would be, all the stuff that we haven't dealt with will just come to the surface, and we got a weapon right there to just retaliate. And many people don't think until after the act is done. So I'm up in the air about it, just across the board. Not, like I said, not just Black people, but yes, especially with Black people, because we have so much history that hasn't been dealt with. I just don't know if it's a good idea, because we're just not sound enough emotionally. We're not sound enough spiritually, for sure. I mean, that's why we're where we are. But emotionally, we are still very broken and needing of healing. We need deliverance, big time. That's everybody across the board. We need deliverance. I'm up in the air about it. Honestly, we can't handle it. Like you said, I don't think we have the capacity, the mental capacity, to really be able to do that, and utilize that right in its rightful space, if that makes sense. So yeah, I didn't want to be on here. I don't know what time it is. Oh, right in an hour. Praise God. These are all about an hour. So I just wanted to dedicate this video to Ahmaud. This is supposed to be about dreams and identity. I really wanted to talk about Ahmaud because his dreams were deferred. His dreams were snuffed out in an instant. And, you know, it will spark a lot of great things. I also said I believe that this case will uncover probably years, if not decades, of corruption and collusion in law enforcement in Georgia. And it'll also open up even that kind of those investigations that need to happen across the nation, because truth be told, the good old boy system exists everywhere. Some places are just a little bit more prevalent than others. But so in other words, guns are a part of the problem. I don't know. I don't know if I can say that guns themselves are the part of the problem, because the guns can't do anything outside of the person utilizing the gun, right? So, I mean, in some cases, I mean, everybody doesn't have your best interests at hand. So, for instance, like as a single female with a child, like I would probably feel better knowing that I have a weapon that I can defend myself if somebody was to try to try some foolery or whatever, but I also know I'm well, you know what I'm saying? But I can't say that for others. Whereas somebody you see even like a lot of kids out there, they're just carrying guns because it gives them a sense of power and gives them a sense of identity, that's who they are. that same gun in the wrong hands is a weapon hurting innocent people, or just as a revenge mechanism. So I believe guns have their place. Weapons have their place. I believe it's been hugely misused and mismanaged. Um, I just there's so much to unpack, even with guns themselves and even their existence, but they're there. So I personally don't have a gun. Um, I have considered getting one because, again, I am a single female. I have a child. I want to be able to defend myself if need be. But as far as like even carrying it around, I honestly don't know if I would ever do that. Like, I just don't feel comfortable knowing I have a deadly weapon attached to me and I'm walking around. Not saying that I would snap and pull it out and try to murk somebody just because, but I've never felt that comfortable, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm saying. I'm up in the air about it. I don't have any concrete thoughts as far as like definites in reference to guns. And in reference to guns and in reference to open carry laws, I don't have any definitive, yes, we should, or no, we shouldn't. There's a lot to unpack there because I don't think it's a one size fits all. And for that reason alone, we probably don't need the guns. But that's kind of my stance on it. So yeah. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk to you guys about today. We were just talking about, dreams. Make sure do every single day, y'all. Let this be, if anything, let this be a reminder to you that no, there is not a day that is promised to us. Like I said earlier in this live, Ahmaud did not wake up knowing that was his last day on this planet, on this earth. He did not know that he was not going to wake up on earth again. And my prayer is that he woke up on the right side of things. I pray he knew the Lord. I don't know. But my point is, guys, we have a certain amount of time assigned to us. We have got to make sure that we are living according to the Lord's will and purpose for our life. That means walking in our assignments. That means working every single day towards what it is he's called us to do. And just not allowing anything to get in the way of moving in his heart, like moving in his dream for us, if that makes sense. I love Psalmist Rain says, we need to make sure we're living his dream. I think she said, or he has a dream and we need to make sure that we're living the dream that he dreamt for us. And I love that saying, because that is so, yes, like, yes, she gets it. That's so it. And so every single day, y'all, whatever that is, wake that dream up. We are going to be continuing talking about this every week. We'll resume with actual dreams and identity next week, because I did want to go more in depth into it. I felt like last week we didn't go far enough into depth, and that's really, really important before we start talking about anything dream related. So we will resume with dreams and identity next week. I have considered it too, but up in the air as to how I feel as well. So yeah, I'm with you, sis. I don't know. I mean, again, like in this day and age, it may be smart to have one, but I don't know. And I don't know if it's wise to be able to just carry it every day outside with me. And I just don't know. There's just too much. Because for every person that is sound and responsible and smart about it, there's another 2 or 3 people who are fools. And just be clear, just be real. So anyway, Rain, did you want to come say hey before I said bye? You don't want to talk? You sure? She don't want to say hey, y'all. Okay, I'm about to say bye. You want to say bye? Bye. I don't think they can see you. Come here. Oh. Bye. You say bye? I can't see you. Bye. You a trip. All right, y'all. Anyway, I love you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday. Oh, now you want to come in. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. I love y'all so much. Next Saturday, I can't promise if it'll be at 5 o'clock, but next Saturday we will continue dreams and identity. I'm hoping this opens up some kind of conversations. That is my prayer. That's my heart, and that's why I do any of this to begin with. Again, I'm being obedient, and hopefully it wakes folks up. Folks start talking about what's actually happening, and maybe some narratives will change. That is my heart. So anyway, say bye.
Bye.
You go say bye, Amber. She said bye to you.
Bye.
I can't. I'm done. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
All right, sugar. All done.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to